What's up, y'all? It's Celeste, and earlier this year I found out that I'm autistic at the age of 40. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you probably already know this because I made a post about it at the time that I was diagnosed in July. But I wanted to make a video about it, and I've just been putting it off for a really long time because it's just kind of overwhelming. I'm going to actually be making multiple videos about it, or at least that's my plan. But as you probably know if you've been following me for a little while, I have really struggled with making videos consistently, and basically just the whole video making process. Even though I like making videos, it's very much a struggle for me. Like, there are a lot of aspects of it that are difficult for me, mostly because of executive functioning and problems processing my thoughts and emotions and distilling them into fluid speech is just like something that I struggle with, which is probably because I'm autistic. But anyway, that's why I'm making this so late. It's like months and months after I officially found out that I am in fact autistic. This video is just going to be kind of like an intro summary kind of thing because I have a lot that I can talk about with this. I can make like an entire video about just the assessment process because there was a lot that went into that. And I'd like to talk about like traits that I have that led me to believe that I could be autistic and in fact am, and like reasons why I didn't realize I was autistic until very late in life, and just like all kinds of stuff that I'd like to talk about, but obviously that would be way too much for one video. And again, if you follow me for a while, you know that I struggle to not make my videos super long and rambly, and that's like one of the things that I struggle with as far as like planning my videos or actually making them, just like talking in them, because I have so much in my mind and it's just like really difficult for me to figure out like what to say when and everything. So I'm going to try to split this up as much as possible, and hopefully that will help, although then I have more videos to make, so I don't know, it's kind of a trade-off. But basically I'm just going to talk a little bit about the fact that I have wondered for a very long time if I could be on the spectrum somewhere, but I always felt like I couldn't be because of certain traits that I don't have that are sort of typical or stereotypical of autistic people. But I have had a pretty decent amount of autistic and otherwise neurodivergent friends for a very long time, and like really felt like I could relate to a lot of what they were talking about, and just like I had several people suggest to me that I could be autistic, but again, I always was kind of like, well, I don't know, and even if I am, then like what's the point of getting diagnosed, because it's not like a disease, so it's not like there's a treatment for it per se. There are treatments for like different aspects of being autistic that can cause difficulties or struggles or whatever, but there's not like a treatment for being autistic because being autistic is not a disease. So I kind of figured like, what's really the point of getting, like, even if I got like an official diagnosis. And by the way, I'm using the term diagnosis in this video and just kind of in general because like even though it's not a disease, that's just like the way that the system is set up. You do actually have to get a diagnosis of it with like it's in the DSM as a condition, so it is a diagnosis even though it's not really a disease. I don't know, it's a whole complicated thing. Again, I could make a whole video about that, and maybe I will at some point, but just know that when I say diagnosis, I really just mean confirmation or like, I don't know, like identification, like being identified as an autistic person. Like, I don't know, diagnosis just seems like an easier word to use, but maybe I should try to work on not using it for the reasons that I just mentioned. Anyway, I wasn't sure that there would really be any point to it for a really long time, so I kind of just like put it to the side and was like, well, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But over the last like year or so, I have been really having a hard time with getting overwhelmed, which, I mean, that's definitely not a new thing, but it's become a thing that I have really very little control over, or really no control over, and it takes very little for me to get overwhelmed to the point where I'm basically unable to work at this point, even though I am still trying to work because I have to make money because capitalism, and it's been very difficult trying to balance that and trying to like make myself work, but trying not to be too hard on myself about it. And just like I literally will sit down to work and just my mind will just go blank and I'll start shutting down. Like I'll start getting really tired and I just like physically, like my body physically reacts to being overwhelmed in a way that I can't just override it. I can't just be like, well, I just have to push through. Like that literally doesn't work because my brain stops working and I literally, like, if it goes on long enough, I literally will fall asleep. So it's like my whole nervous system is just very on edge, and this isn't just about work either. Like this is like anytime I would get like sensory overload, or if I just get like there's like some emotional trigger, I just like start shutting down. That's like my main response to everything, is just shutting down. And it's become really a big hindrance into my life. Obviously, this is something that I've been working on for a really long time, but it's just kind of getting worse and worse, and obviously can be a symptom or trait of autism is having shutdowns. And that's like really what it sounded like. Like when I would read descriptions of shutdowns, it was like 100%. That's exactly what I experienced. And and I also, like, I've already been diagnosed with ADHD, and I very, very much knew that I was neurodivergent in some way. Like that was not in question. But all of the things that I would find about like how to figure out if you're autistic, like lists of traits and like essays and just like people talking about their experiences and stuff, was helpful, but a lot of it kind of felt like it was more to figure out if you're neurodivergent at all. Like if you can relate to like all of these traits, there's just so much overlap between like different neurotypes, like autism, ADHD, and like anxiety, depression. Like there's so much overlap between these, and trauma also, that it's just really difficult. Like, you know that you fall into one or more of these categories, but it's hard to say like whether, like, I couldn't really figure out like what made autism like specifically different from these other things, because most of the lists of traits that I would find would be overlapping with other stuff. And so I felt like I needed some outside help to figure that out. I am 100% in support of self-diagnosis or self-identification as autistic. If you feel like you're autistic, then that you do not need an outside source to validate that for you. I personally felt like I wanted that because of what I just said, like that I just felt like I couldn't figure it out on my own. I could very easily figure out that I was neurodivergent, but I didn't really understand exactly what the nuance was as far as like figuring out whether I was specifically autistic. And I personally didn't feel comfortable identifying as autistic without being pretty sure of the fact that I am. And the other thing is that I felt like I would personally have, or I was hoping that I would have an easier time asking for accommodations, or kind of just like being able to give a reason for why I'm the way I am, like why I'm struggling with this or that, like in a way that maybe other people would give more credence to and not just tell me I was being dramatic, which is what has happened my entire life. Again, I don't feel like you should have to have an official diagnosis to be able to ask for accommodations, but just in my personal experience, I felt like I would maybe be more able to, and maybe people would listen more if I had that. So that's why I decided to get an official diagnosis. Again, I'm going to talk more in detail about the whole process, but I did find somebody local to me who I felt like would be a good fit for me. I had to wait a few months to have the actual assessment, and it was in July. It was the beginning of July. So that was when I officially was confirmed as autistic. So since then, I've been going through this whole process of processing this information and kind of going back over my entire life and looking at it through a new lens and just kind of trying to make sense of things. And part of that has been really validating for me and has made me feel like kind of vindicated and stuff. But it's also been really difficult. It's been pretty much like a grieving process, and there's been a lot of anger and resentment and sadness and just like a lot of really bad feelings about the fact that I have had 4 decades of life where this was not known and I was treated in a way that was not who I am, and expectations were placed upon me that were unfair, and pretty much like messed me up emotionally. And so I'm just like really angry about that, and really having a hard time kind of figuring out like how I can ever unlearn all of that stuff and learn how to be like my actual self, and be healthy. And I just like don't know how that's possible. I'm really having a hard time right now. I'm in a pretty deep depressive episode right now, and just like not doing well. And that's not because of getting diagnosed. It's just like because of all the stuff that I'm processing and still struggling with everything. And like getting diagnosed didn't really fix anything because there really aren't any supports available to me, apparently, because all of the supports seem to be for kids or for maybe for like adults who also have like intellectual disabilities or like other things that they need help with that are not exactly what I need help with. Like the kinds of supports that I need are not things that I seem to be able to find. So it's just been really kind of frustrating. It's just like, I don't know, it's a whole process that I'm hopefully going to come out the other side feeling better about, but right now I'm not doing too well. That's one of the reasons that I've been putting this off, also because like just being in this state makes it difficult to make videos and makes it difficult to think and like do stuff, being stressed out. But I have kind of pulled back on the amount of work that I'm doing. I told my boss that I needed to take a break, basically, and I'm fortunate that I'm able to do that with the job that I have. I'm not like entirely stopping working, but basically like really dialing it back right now, which is not going to be good financially, but I really feel like I need that in order to do anything else, like in order to like heal myself to a point of being functional just from my day-to-day life. Basically, if you know anything about autistic burnout, that's what I'm in. I've probably been in it for a few decades, off and on, to varying degrees, but it's not something I really have been able to figure out like how to get out of, really. And I would like to find somebody that's like a coach or something that can like help me with that, but I don't know if that exists. If you know anything about that, please let me know. I have a therapist right now who is great in a lot of ways, but she's really helping me more with trauma stuff, which, oh, by the way, I also got officially diagnosed with complex PTSD at my autism evaluation. So that was also validating, but also kind of like, well, it was mostly validating, really, like, because it didn't really make me feel bad because I already was pretty sure I had a lot of trauma. So that just kind of validated it. But anyway, my therapy that I'm doing now is more trauma-based, and it's more somatic, what is somatic experiencing. So she's not really equipped to give me the kind of like coaching type of support that I need. Like I really want someone to help me figure out like how to unmask and stuff, like, because I didn't ever really set out to mask. I never deliberately masked. It's all been unconscious, so I don't even know like how I did it or like how to undo it, and just kind of like things like that. Like that's what I need help with, and I just don't know how to do that really, or like who to ask to help me with that. So if you know anything, especially if it's something very cheap, because I am very much on a budget and my other therapy is already really expensive, let me know in the comments. Yeah, so that's probably all I want to say in this video. It's probably already a little bit longer than I intended, but again, I'll talk more about all kinds of aspects of this in the future. So if there's anything in particular that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments. And I think there were a couple of you out there who actually in comments on previous videos, like a couple years ago, I know at least like 1 or 2 people at some point had suggested to me that I might be autistic in the comments. So if that was you, thank you for that. I didn't obviously like pursue it right away, but it probably was helpful to me to have that kind of like in the back of my mind. So thank you for helping me with that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of my future videos about being autistic as well as other topics. and leave a comment if you have anything you want to add to the conversation. Yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.